to the power and effect of editing, to how you can chop something up and put it back together to create a new meaning. You see, people love to put all of this praise on Lucas. But as we discussed above, it wasn't George Lucas who saved A New Hope. It was a different Lucas. It was Marcia Lucas. And I think it's worth noting that the person who's been forgotten was the woman. While she doesn't have a long filmography, the films she worked on show that she is a phenomenal editor. So much so that she won an Oscar for Star Wars along with the rest of the editing team, was nominated for American Graffiti, and won a BAFTA for her work on Taxi Driver. Her ex-husband may have been centralized in the story about making these films, but she was just as important, arguably more so. And she's not the only one. I think it's sad that Marcia's ex-husband's act of rewriting history has cut her and many other artists out of receiving the acclaim for their work.
There were 2 or 3 key innovations. One, motion. Incredibly dynamic. You know, George is an editor, he thinks in cuts, and that film took the stunning kind of sense of detail and the starkness of space that you saw in 2001 and just kicked it into high gear, just turbocharged it, where everything was moving and crossing, and there was huge scale and tremendous depth to the shots.
He said, I am going to put this together in a way that you've never seen it. And it did. It just, that's why it blew people's minds.
But it also cut them out of the royalties. You see, if you re-edit a film enough, if you change enough scenes, if you alter it significantly, it is considered a separate release. He was driven to push the monomyth about himself by greed, a desire for greater profits, and a fear of losing more money after the divorce.
Hopefully it'll work.
Marcia's ex-husband wasn't boldly re-engaging with his earlier work to assert his great vision. He was just a pissed-off ex-husband who wanted to take some money away from his ex-wife. But it's worth noting that this spitefulness was stoked by capitalist desires and forces around him.
And I had made the decision after Star Wars that I had certain goals in my private life. One was to be independent of Hollywood. The other one ultimately was to have a family. Fate has a way of stepping in. I ended up getting divorced right as the film Jedi was finished, and I was left to raise my daughter.
It encouraged and pushed him to make selfish, self-aggrandizing choices, and to erase those others around him by making it about the money and not the art.
My God. You're so full of crap.